tournament-focused sparring. It's the sport-focused sparring. So I want to have it reasonably active because I know I've told everyone to warm up, so I don't want to spend the next half hour talking. But I do want to say this. Tournament sparring is quite different to the way a lot of people spar in class. And the way we train, traditionally the way we train and the way most clubs train, I get to visit, over the last 30 years or so, pretty much everyone. It's kind of back to front in the sense that, we learn our fundamentals, we learn our basics, and then we go to a tournament and find out most of it doesn't work. Okay, and the reason it doesn't work is not because it's not good. Okay, it's probably really good for the purpose it was taught, but it's not specific to what's needed in that environment, in the tournament type environment. And the more the level of tournament goes up, say from club then to state, then to national, then to international, the more you'll find a lot of the traditional fundamental movements don't actually work in that tournament setting. Doesn't mean they're not good, because of course they work in different settings. So the tournament is just a sport. Okay, so as much as I want to cover, some drills and some strategies and things like that, what I want to say first of all is the reason I think it's taught back to front, the reason I say that is not to be controversial. It's because we learn or we teach techniques before we teach the rules or the objective. So if you can imagine, if you're learning to play soccer, but you never have goals, yeah? So you don't know how to score. It's a little bit the same the way people teach sparring. They'll teach the kicking, they'll teach the striking, they'll teach the blocking, but they won't necessarily teach it for the purpose of the sport. And I know not everyone trains for the sport, but it's very difficult to jump in and out, okay, from one to the other if you don't teach specifically. And I'm not saying make your entire class based around tournament, because the opposite is true. A lot of the tournament techniques don't really work as well in a self-defense setting or in a combat type setting. So you've got to understand they're two different things, okay? Two completely different things. So it's very specific. So some of the things we do today, you might say, hang on, that doesn't quite look exactly like the way we do it in class. And the reason for that is simple, because it's not, okay? And that's the first thing I want to get across to you. Almost every technique you do in tournament is modified for tournament sparring, okay? You need to understand that the objective of most fundamental movements, with very few exceptions, is to generate maximum power, to have maximum impact on the target. That's not the objective of sparring. The objective of sparring is to score points and win. Okay, that's what you're trying to do. Of course, in every match, one person will and one person won't. Okay, but your objective should always be to score points and win. It's like playing basketball and never taking a shot for goals. You can have fun dribbling around the court, but if you don't at some point ultimately shoot for the goals and get them, you're never going to win. Okay, and as much as people will say winning is not everything, it's true. Winning is not everything, but trying to win is. Okay, you should never ever be in the ring not trying to win. Okay, but you should accept that when you don't, it's not everything. What's important is that you develop and you learn and you get better. Okay, but when you're in there, you need to be doing your best. You need to be trying to do your best with the objective of trying to win. And never get in there and accept that, well, I'm going to lose, so why try? Well, they're kind of defeats the purpose. All right, anyway, so I won't talk too much. I'll stop and start a few times to explain a couple of things. All right, I'm assuming everybody's reasonably warmed up. What I like to do with tournament sparring, we're having a section of a class devoted to tournament sparring or ITF sparring, because of course different taekwondos have slightly different rules and slightly different approaches, which then dictates different techniques that they use. I try to incorporate the warm-up into the class rather than to have it as two separate, distinct things. Okay, we warm up and then we start. Okay, we start. The warm-up is part of the class. So what we're going to do, and the guys will be behind me, and they can join in as well. Okay, so we're going to start, first of all, very, very fundamental, because I know a lot of you have very limited exposure to ITF tournament sparring. You may have sparred hundreds of hours in your club. I'm not saying that was a waste of time. Of course it's not. It's a completely different purpose. Okay, but there's very specific movement pattern. First of all, we're going to start in a position where we're nice and light and we bounce. Okay, the first thing a lot of people, when you're new to sparring, I find that your positioning is too front on. Okay, you're very front on. So we want to get a little bit more side on. And the reason we do that is because we want to close as much as the target as we can to the other person. The minute we turn square, we're presenting a full target and we're presenting both sides. You couldn't give them a better chance to score. It's like making the soccer goals twice as big. Well, then one team has a huge advantage. So we're trying to make the goal smaller. Okay, so we make the goal smaller by turning more side on. Now, which leg you have in front really depends on you. Okay, not dissimilar to a boxer. A boxer will often have a preferred side that they have in front. Okay, but with Taekwondo, it's always an advantage if you train both sides. So you're quite adept whether you're right leg in front or left leg in front. But anyway, the reason that we close off half facing or sort of diagonal is because our scoring area is only the front half of the body. Okay, so which means that automatically everything on this side the person can't score with. So what we're doing is we're limiting their scoring opportunities by roughly 50% already, just by our stance here. Okay? So that's very important. So a lot of people spar and they come full on. Okay, well you're going to give away a lot of easy points doing that. Okay, and I know sometimes people spar like that in class because it's not about scoring points. Okay, but this is different. This is a game, if you like. Okay, I know when you're in the ring, it doesn't always feel like a game, but it's a game. So we're side facing, half facing. Okay, now I know every instructor, and I've done the same thing, will yell at you 1,000 times during your training lifespan. Keep your hands up, keep your hands up, keep your hands up. Okay, it's not necessary to keep your hands up if you're not in a range where you're going to get hit. Okay, in fact, you actually use a lot of energy having your hands up all the time. Your hands need to be up when the person is close enough to hit you. Okay, yes, that's important. Don't just let them hit you in the face. But when we're back here, okay, we don't need the hands up. But when we move in, the hands have to come up. Okay, so what I'm saying is don't be too rigid. Okay, don't be sort of prodding and prodding and prodding like like you're doing Muay Thai. Completely different sport, completely different rules. Okay, so the movement pattern is different. And you see a lot of people moving this way because they saw it in the movie or they see, Van Damme or something, but it doesn't work in ITF sparring. Okay, it'll work in class because you'll just stand there and throw hard kicks, but it doesn't happen in ITF sparring like that. You need to be relaxed, you need to be loose, okay? And when the distance is closed, that's when you need to make sure you've got your guard, your defense, and everything else. Okay, so relax, loose. So just slightly forward and back. I know you've warmed up, but we're just going to get this movement pattern going a little bit. Okay, the person wouldn't be right in front of me. The person would be at a distance, okay? And in the ring, I'm not necessarily going forwards and back all the time. It's often on the spot, often moving around. Okay, trying to find an opening, trying to find my distance. Okay, let's just change legs. Try the same on the other side. Just relax, nice and loose, forward and back, forward and back. So this is kind of incorporating into a little bit of warming up as well. We do the same thing. Okay, when I say change, we're just going to switch. Okay, ready? Change. 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 Okay, good. All right, let's loosen up a little bit. Circle your hips. So I won't spend too much time with the warm-up because we'll incorporate it in. Circle your arms. Come back. Body. Throw your arms up. Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, Richard, need the headband. I probably need the hair as well. All right, so same thing. up on your toes, nice and loose. This time what we're going to do, we're going to shuffle forwards and then shuffle back. Okay? Don't worry too much about the hands at the moment. Okay, ready? 1, and back. 2, and back. Back for the 3, back. 4, and back. 5, and back. Change legs. 1, and back. 2, and back. 3, and back. 4, and back. Okay, so very similar, particularly those high belts, to your double stepping. Okay, but the difference is that I don't cross the feet over. Up. One foot comes towards the other one. The other one goes forwards. Okay? Because what happens is when I cross my feet, I open up my body. Okay? I want to keep my body on this angle. So it's kind of like